Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So in this session, we are going to talk about the all-new shiny Catalyst 9K that we have just announced. And that is, we believe, taking us to the new era of networking. My name is Muhammad Imam. I lead the technical marketing team for the Catalyst switching products and the Catalyst 9K. And I've been at Cisco for about 10 years. I've been on the Catalyst products for about 5 to 6 years. I started with the ASR 1000. So that's a quick background on myself. Let's go quickly and dive into what we are talking about here. If you look at our industry, I think I'll keep this short because Mark probably has covered most of this. When I started my career, I was in an office where we had just wired PCs in 2001. There was no wireless device, there was no IP phone, there was no video cameras, nothing. If we fast forward to today, we have enormous amount of endpoints that are connecting in our networks, both from wired and wireless perspective. A lot of different devices coming in our network from IoT perspective, from mobility perspective, and all of these needs to be secured and needs to be connected to our network. It really needs new set of hardware, new set of capabilities to address the challenges of today and keeping it secure and keeping it ready for IoT and mobility. Okay? And that's why we are introducing the Catalyst 9K family. Now, the Catalyst 9K family consists of 3 members. The Catalyst 9300, which is our lead stackable access switches. The Catalyst 9400, which is our lead modular access switches. And the Catalyst 9500, which is our lead aggregation / core fixed boxes. So you can, if you want to compare that with the existing part portfolio, Catalyst 9300 would be very similar to Catalyst 3850. Catalyst 9400 will be similar to Catalyst 4500. Catalyst 9500 is very similar to Catalyst 4500X or kind of 6880 fixed core ag. Now Dave has talked about ASIC. Dave has also touched on the iOS XE. These are the 2 foundation of the Catalyst 9K. Very strong foundation that we have. And the entire family is built on the same exact foundation. We have converged all the Catalyst 9K family onto one ASIC and one operating system. We never had this before. Right? We had Catalyst 3K running on a different ASIC, Catalyst 4K running on a different ASIC, Catalyst 6K running on a different ASIC, and different operating system. iOS on the 3Ks, iOS XE on the 4Ks, another version of iOS on the 6Ks. We are converging all of this together into one iOS. Now, UADP, I think we have mentioned 7.46 billion transistor built on 28 nanometer technology. What does that really mean? We have jumped from 1.6 billion transistor in UADP 1.0 to 7.46 billion transistors. Every transistor that we add, that means more features, functionalities, scale, performance, right? And that's exactly what we are bringing in the Catalyst 9K. I want to highlight 3 key things that powers the Catalyst 9K from the UADP ASIC. Flexible pipeline. We have discussed this a lot in the last session. I'm just going to be brief on that. We have adaptable tables. What that means is the TCAM tables, the forwarding tables. These are important pieces of the memory that we have in these Catalyst switches, right? These are in the hardware. These are integrated in the ASIC itself. These are very adaptable in the UADP 2.0, which means you can carve the TCAM and the forwarding tables in different ways for different deployments. We are hearing about SD access these days. A lot of our customers will continue to have traditional deployment as well. This ASIC is capable of being deployed in traditional way of networking, where we have a traditional core, right, a traditional access, or an SD access, a new way of doing it. And maybe tomorrow we have a new technology coming up, which requires a different carving of the tables. Most host routes versus most L3 routes, most ACL versus most QoS, more NAT entries versus maybe some other features. You can carve these tables in different ways for different deployments. It's the same ASIC, it's the same box. All you have to do is to go and ask the operating system to change that for a certain deployment. And from there, you can get different sizes, different table scale.
Now can that be done on the fly, or does that require a reload?
Today, it requires a reload. Yeah. Our wish is to get to a point where it's on the fly. Right? So that's adaptable tables. And then from a scale and performance perspective, we have taken it multiple scales, doubled, quadrupled certain scales. So from bandwidth perspective, for example, we have taken it from 56 gig to all the way to 240 gig, right? And one of the cool things in this ASIC is you can run this ASIC on multiple different frequencies, which means it will have multiple different aggregated bandwidth. So if you run it on 375 megahertz, you get 80 gig. You run it on 500 megahertz, you get like 200 gig, and so on. So you can run the same ASIC on different frequencies and get different aggregated bandwidth. So when we are going to put this ASIC on a 9300, you'll get about 160 gig of bandwidth. Putting it 9500, you'll get 240 gig of bandwidth, right? So it can run in different frequencies. We have increased the amount of buffer. So we have 32 meg of buffer. You can compare that to 6 meg of buffer in UADP 1.0. That means we have a lot deeper buffer on each queues that we have per port. We have 8 queues per port, and now we have a lot more buffer in that. We have doubled the net flow entries, 64,000 on one core. And this ASIC comes in 2 cores. So one ASIC has 2 cores. Each of them has 64,000 net flow entries. Right? So all the scale numbers and the performance numbers has increased significantly on the UADP 2.0. Now the other important foundation of the Cat9K family is the ASIC. And the key thing here is as we evolve the iOS, we are modularizing it a lot more. So if you look at the iOS, if you go back like 20, 30 years, it used to be a very monolithic piece of code, right? At that time, it used to be pretty fast. It used to run on routers, and that was the need of that time. But today we have different needs. So we have modularized the operating system in a way that we have iOS subsystems for the different features that we have. So for example, BGP could be an iOS subsystem. OSPF is another iOS subsystem. The advantage of that is you get a lot more resiliency and high availability, because if one of the iOS subsystems fail, other pieces of the software is intact, right? Also, we have added this iOS XE database, which we internally call it Crimson database. This enables the programmability and open models, really, because what we are doing here is we are storing all the configuration and operational states that we have for all the different protocols and features that are in the system in this database in a specific format, which means you have now access to all the states in one place, and now you can translate it to different data models. You can translate it to Yang, you can translate it to other data models if required, and expose it to to the APIs. Okay. And then the third thing here is, since it's based on Linux, and the Linux kernel now supports the LXCs, or the Linux containers. And that enables the third-party application hosting, streaming telemetry. You can connect it with different visualization tool like Kibana, and stream real-time different data that is in the system. Okay. And
how much of what you're showing up there is unique to Denali as opposed to just XC in general?
this is, so we started this with Denali in 16.1, and it is the same architecture that we brought in Denali. We are just calling it OpenIOSXC, a slightly different name, but it's basically the same architecture. So this all this is started with 16.1.1, which came in November of 2015. Since then, we have built on top of that, and the Catalyst 9K is going to use 16.5.1 and beyond, right? And that's where we are bringing a lot of other enhancements in the same architecture. But the architecture that we actually first brought was part of 16.1.1 Denali. All right. So now the one cool thing really I like to mention is this has the same binary file that we run on all of the Catalyst 9K, right? We have never done this before. 93, 94, 95 is going to run one binary image, which means you just download one file from the CCO, and that is going to go in all of these different members of the family. Okay. We are introducing x86-based CPU on the Catalyst 9K family, right? A lot of these third-party applications that we keep talking about, Puppet, Chef, Bergsonar, Wireshark, all these applications are built for x86-based systems. If we have PowerPC-based systems, we cannot run these applications on that switch, right? Making it x86-based means now you can run all those different applications that are out there potentially in these switches as well as a hosted application, right? So that capability is there with the x86-based CPU. We are also adding a lot more storage on the device, which is a key requirement for hosting third-party applications, right? We used to have just 16 gig at max in the flash, which was pretty tiny for a lot of applications these days. What we are doing now is we are having the provision of SATA SSD drive on the Catalyst 9400. It goes directly on the supervisor, and you can go up to 1 terabyte of storage on the Catalyst 9400. We also have the USB 2.0 and 3.0 support on all of these systems, the 93, 94, 95, and that can give you up to 100 gig of storage. So that's a lot of storage now that we have, which can be utilized for many things, including the third-party application hosting, but it could also be used for local logging, storing the images. Our customer used to have to go and delete one of the images to download and put another image. We don't have that issue.
Is that just 9400, or is that all platforms?
The SATA SSD storage device, this one here, this is only on 9400. Mm-hmm. The USB 2.0 and 3.0 support is on the entire family.
Okay.
Yep. Now, we have also looked at how we can make the Catalyst 9K operations much easier for our customers. So we are introducing a few cool things here. The first one is a blue beacon. If you're familiar with the data center products, you probably know what blue beacon is. It's a blue light that can be enabled from the CLI, which can identify that device, right? So from your comfort of your office, you just go to the CLI, you say blue beacon on, and then you can send someone there to go and look at that line card that's blinking the blue LED, take it out, service it, and do or put a cable or something like that, right? Now, blue beacon is available on the Catalyst 9300, 9500 on this system. On the Catalyst 9400, which is modular, we have the blue beacon available on every single modular component, which means on the line cards, on the supervisor, on the power supply, on the fan tray, everything, right? So I think this is pretty cool. This makes the identification of the device, which could be sitting in one of the wiring closet and people have to find it. People used to use different ways to do that. Now it's pretty easy. Another cool aspect that we are adding here is the RFID. So a lot of our customers, when they receive the product, the switches, they go and attach an RFID tag to each one of them. You don't have to do that anymore. RFID is embedded in each of these systems by default, and it has its serial number, the PID, and different information of the system already in that RFID tag. Okay? So you can easily track with your tracking system these devices. On the Catalyst 9400 again, the RFID is available on each of the modules that we have in the Catalyst 9400. I think that's pretty cool. It makes the inventory management much easier for our customers. And yes, Christian?
So on the 90th, sorry, I was tweeting about the blue beacon.
Okay.
That's on the 9300 and 9500 for the system, to identify the
Correct.
system. On the 9400, it's the system and
as
all
well
the,
as all
as
the
well.
modules.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So as a network engineer, I always carry a console cable in my bag, right? Like if you look at my bag right now, it has a console cable in it, or two probably. With the Catalyst 9K, you can probably throw your console cables away because we are putting this optional Bluetooth capability in the system, which means you can use your Bluetooth wireless device, right, to connect to the system and get to the console. You can download the image, you can manage the device, you can transfer the files, you can do everything that we typically do for management of the device from the Bluetooth. We made this optional because some of our customers are sensitive to having a wireless capability in the device. So this is an optional thing that you can just put the Bluetooth dongle and enable the Bluetooth. The
So will
Bluetooth
be a
stack is
dongle.
there.
There'll be a dongle.
There'll be a dongle, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Is that something like we'll see maybe make it down to the access layer, like a 3850? Because I mean, data centers, there's a handful of them, right? So is that something we'll see drive down to the 3850 where there might be hundreds or thousands of those?
This is available on Catalyst 9K.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a plan for adding this to Catalyst 3850 at the moment.
Okay.
So does that present like a serial driver that I can access through Secure CRT or my preferred SSH? Or
Yeah,
terminal
just
client?
use Secure CRT from the Bluetooth interface. You'll get to see the other side, which is the device itself.
So it's like a Cisco proprietary Bluetooth to serial adapter, basically?
It's not proprietary. I don't think it's proprietary. I think it's just the Bluetooth driver. So the system comes with Bluetooth stack in it, and that can be accessed with any Bluetooth device.
So if I have a laptop with Bluetooth built in, I don't need that Cisco adapter? I can just directly access the 9K?
No, you need the dongle that's going to go and connect to the device.
You need the radio on the switch. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So the switch doesn't have a Bluetooth radio built in?
No.
Gotcha,
no.
okay.
And that's why we wanted to make that optional, because some people are sensitive to having Bluetooth already in the device.
So is that just a USB dongle, or is it
Yes,
have a
USB
dedicated?
dongle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Air Console does that, right? That's what I use right now. Air Console, I use that now, and it does a Bluetooth.
Right, exactly.
Also similar.
Yeah.
What security mechanisms have been built into that Bluetooth dongle?
It's the standard Bluetooth security password.
So you connect and you're just on a console.
Right.
Yeah.
Good to know.
It's optional.
That's why it's optional.
Well, the console would still have authentication on it, right? So
Yeah, all
might.
those
might.
Is that Bluetooth transmission encrypted? I mean, if somebody were to somehow snuff Bluetooth, they could see.
This is just the standard Bluetooth that we have.
Gotcha.
It's the password protected. Okay.
I love plain text
Now,
passwords.
How many of you guys have this car in your garages?
I got a really little one.
2 of them.
I have one. Yeah, okay. I have a similar one. It's probably in one of my son's toy boxes. This is the Ferrari car, and we have used the same designer who designs the Ferraris, who actually designed the Catalyst 9K family, right? And so you'll notice, if you look at these systems, you'll notice that these are pretty ergonomic design, and we have all these different features. It's really, you have to go and touch and feel these things instead of talking about it in a slide. It's really cool. So if you guys get a chance to go to World of Solution, you can actually go and see that. Okay, and it comes with the best safety standards that we always had. Now, the Catalyst 9300 is coming out with 3 different types of SKUs: the data only, PoE plus and UPoE SKUs, and then the multi-gigabit SKU. Okay, so these are the 3 different types of SKUs that we are introducing on the Catalyst 9300 family. It comes with 3 or 4 different uplink options. The 4x 1 gig, pretty standard, that we always had. 8x 10 gig, right, which is coming at a very competitive price, and 2x 40 gig. And we are also introducing a new uplink module, which is 4x multi-gigabit uplink module. This, for those of our customers who are still running copper in their uplinks and still have Cat5e, they can go to 10 gig. Now they can go to multiple of 1 gig, which is 2.5 gig or 5 gig, right, with the help of this module. The Catalyst 9300 comes with Stackwise 480. It also comes with the stack power technology that we had on the Catalyst 3850, and comes with much better, larger buffer and scale numbers on the Catalyst 9300. Okay. From high availability perspective, it has the active and standby model that we have, very similar to Catalyst 3850. It can stack up to 8 members, centralized, control plane, distributed forwarding plane, data plane. And it can have 1+1 stateful redundancy, which means if one of the active switches has to fail, the standby takes over in less than 250 milliseconds. And so if you are running a video through this system, that means you won't even see a glitch, right? Okay, so this is a quick layout of the Catalyst 9300. This is a 48-port layout. It comes with just 1 ASIC with 2 cores. All of the ports get connected to the single ASIC on the ASIC interfaces. Here we have the PHYs that takes all the traffic, the octa-PHYs, and then we have the PoE controllers, and then the ports that we have. On the right side here, we have the CPU and memories, the RAM and flash, 16 gig of flash, 8 gig of RAM, and then the USB 2.0 and 3.0 that we talked about earlier, right? So that's a quick layout of the system. Then in the back here, we have the 480 gig of the stack that connects to the cables in the back and takes you to the Stackwise 480 ring. Quickly going to the Catalyst 9400, we are introducing 2 new chassis, 7-slot and 10-slot. The cool thing here is that we are introducing this with default redundancy options on the Supervisor, right? So on the Catalyst 4500, we used to have chassis that used to come out with only 1 Supervisor. Dual Supervisor is default on the Catalyst 9400. So it always has the provision to go with 2 Supervisor. It has industry's highest PoE scale and comes with 40 gig and 10 gig uplink options on the Supervisor, right? So it has 8x 10 gig uplinks, or you can use 2x 40 gig, up to 80 gig of uplink bandwidth that you have.
Can I ask a question about the 9300?
Sure.
You had on the previous page there. Mm-hmm. So you've got 16 gigs of flash, and if you're running something in a container on top of this, right, or multiple containers, that 16 gigs not really going to be a lot, right? So are you running them off of the USB?
Yes, you can. So in the back of the 9300, we have made it such that the USB is not going to just be hanging out there and you can hit it with something
Yeah.
and so on, right? That was a concern.
Yeah.
So what we have done is there's a deep slot in there, and you can put it in, and you'll only see the head of that USB or the tail of that USB out. So you can actually keep it in and get up to 100 gig of storage.
Do I have to use a special USB, or can I grab one of these ones from one of the vendor booths? And
You can grab that as well, but I think the support is going to be on Cisco USBs.
okay, so it's specific, fits in the slot.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now the Catalyst 9400 comes with SUP 1 as the first supervisor, right? It can go up to 1.44 terabits per second, right? So that's the speed that we have on the Catalyst 9400, and it's coming out with 3 different line card options: the data only, UPOE, and SFP plus. Okay. Now the line card slots bandwidth is 80 gig, right? So for example, the SFP plus line card is going to be a bit oversubscribed. The UPOE and data line cards are line rate. The cool thing here is when we are going to introduce the next gen of supervisor at some point, right? And you upgrade your supervisor, you don't have to touch your line card. You can upgrade the supervisor and unlock the capabilities of the new supervisor without changing the line cards. I think that's pretty cool, right? Nobody in the industry does that. So once we are going to have a supervisor that can support up to 180 gig of line card slot, you can get up to 180 gig on each of the line card without changing anything. Okay. This is a centralized architecture, very similar to Catalyst 4500, and it has its own benefits. So you have your line cards, you have a passive backplane up to 480 gig of bandwidth, and then you have the supervisor. All of your traffic goes through the supervisor for processing. Okay, so all the processing is actually happening in the supervisor itself. Now the Catalyst 9400 was built ground up for high availability. It has dual SUP SSO option. The power supplies option, the redundancy option is also enhanced. In the Catalyst 9400, we have N plus N or N plus 1 redundancy option. So you can have, for example, 2 circuits and have 4 plus 4 power supply redundancy, or you can have 6 plus 1 or 7 plus 1 kind of redundancy as well. Fans also come in redundant N plus 1 redundancy. You can mix and match the uplinks and the power supplies the way you want, right? Now, I can't stop talking about Catalyst 9400 without mentioning this one. This is really cool. The Catalyst 9400 has a really cool fan tray, which can be serviced both from the front and the back, right? It's the same fan tray that you can access it and take it out from the front. You can put it back in. You can go in the back of the chassis. You can pull it from there. This makes the servicing very easy because a lot of customers have cables running around here. And if they have to service it, you have to take all those cables out and then take the fan tray, which is pretty hard. So that's one of the cool things that we have here. The Catalyst 9500 is coming out with 3 different SKUs: 24 port 40 gig, 12 port 40 gig, and then an option for 40 ports of 10 gig. The 40 port 10 gig option comes with 2 uplink options, which is 8x 10 gig and 2x 40 gig. And these boxes can go up to 1.9 terabits per second with the UADP 2.0. Line rate on all ports in 1 RU. That's a lot of bandwidth that you are getting for your campus core ag box. Right? Very simple architecture. It has the 24 port 40 gig has 4 ASICs. They are all connected in the back with the stack ring, which can go up to 1.44 terabits per second, and that makes the box line rate on all ports. Okay. Now for high availability, The Catalyst 9500 comes with a Stackwise virtual, which means that it is the same kind of technology that we have on the 9300, the Stackwise, but you can use the front panel ports to stack these two boxes. If you are familiar with VSS, this is very similar to that. Okay,
Just pairs.
just pairs.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
yes, that's right. Okay, so you can form the Stackwise virtual, have the redundancy, run multi-chassis Ether channel, and get dual homing of your devices. Okay, so that's our Catalyst 9K family. The Catalyst 9300, 9400, and 9500 built on very strong foundation with the help of UADP 2.0 and iOS XE 16.5. And that enables a range of things. And I'm not going to talk about all of these boxes here, but you guys are going to hear each one of them, I think most of them, during the day. So that's the Catalyst 9K that's enabling the encrypted traffic analysis, for example, ETA, which can detect the malware in the encrypted traffic itself. That's the Catalyst 9K that's enabling resiliency and patching and GIR. This is the Catalyst 9K that's enabling the programmability and automation for your network, right? Third-party app hosting, SD access, fabric-enabled wireless, trustworthy systems, a lot of things that our customers can enjoy and take their network to a completely new era of networking.
Is that fabric-enabled wireless another run at converged access? Is that?
No, this is part of the SD access. So the wireless piece that is going to run with the SD access. So it's a fabric-based. Okay. Any questions?
On the hardware, the 9400 is obviously clearly side-to-side airflow. Is that the same for the 93 and the 9500?
The 93 and 9500 are front and side to back.
Okay.
Yeah, the 9400 is side to side.
Are there any plans on a future model of the 9400 that would be front to back airflow? Or side to back?
Not that I'm aware of at this point, yeah.
So just a question, if you've got full Stackwise capability on die on the UADP, why is the 9500 using front ports for virtual rather than running a dedicated stack?
Right, it's a different deployment, right? Most of the time when we are going to deploy, when our customers are going to deploy the 9500, they're mostly going to deploy in aggregation and core, where you're probably not going to put like more than 2 boxes, right? And so the redundancy that you actually need is within 2 boxes. The Stackwise that you have in the back that can take the stack all the way to 8 if needed. All you need here is some way of virtualizing the 2 chassis and getting dual homing, multi-chassis Ether channel kind of capabilities, right? And so we are it's actually the same technology that we are using in the back. We are making it available on the front panel ports. And that was, most of our customers actually wanted that anyway, to have it on the front panel ports for the aggregation kind of deployments.
Okay, it just seemed odd because in order to get the full bandwidth, you'd have to use 6 ports.
That's correct, yeah.